Hey, Karen Julia here with Photo SEO Lab, and welcome to the first in a series of videos where we're going to be looking at relocating your wedding photography business. Now, this process is going to be getting recorded live because I'm actually undertaking this process myself. I'm going to be moving from Manchester in England to Glasgow in Scotland. So I'm going to be kind of taking you live through the process as I kind of get new rankings and get new work in my new city. Now, as things currently stand, I don't have any weddings either that I've previously shot in Glasgow or recently. I don't have any blog posts for the area, really for anywhere in Scotland. So I'm going to be starting completely from scratch. And I also move up on Wednesday. So things have been fairly quick in terms of my relocation plans. I'd always suggest planning this sort of thing out in advance, at least 3 months if you can. But I do have a load of weddings booked for summer in my current location. So I'm going to be doing a lot of driving up and down. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the preparation work to take before you make the move. And this would be in relation to your current website. The first thing you want to do is let your clients know before you update anything on your site. So that's the first step. But after that, what I'd recommend you do is have a look at your current website, because the thing is, with your new area, you might need a change in strategy. There might be some differences in the type of clients that you're aiming for in the market in your new location. So it's really worth while investing some time in market research, also redoing all your figures, your kind of finances, the profit and loss side of things of your business, because there might be different costs involved in your new area that aren't in your current area. For example, the parks in Glasgow all require permits, so that's something I'll need to cost into future jobs. Also, I'm potentially going to be covering a wider geographical area, so there's going to be more driving involved, and that's going to affect my running costs as well. So just to share with you where I'm moving to, if we just have a peek at the map here, I'm just going to reduce the size of my head on the screen. So I'm moving from Manchester in England, 217 miles away to Glasgow. And the area I'm going to be covering is going to be kind of most of the central part of Scotland. So certainly a kind of wider geographical area, and probably with slightly fewer city centre weddings than what I do at the moment. So that's going to take a little bit of a kind of shift change in terms of my strategy. But when it comes to strategy with the website, what we want to do is remove any work for areas that we're absolutely, definitely not going to be covering. It's worth having a bit of a tidy up, and also looking at work that might be a few years old that's not really reflective of your current work. So it's an opportunity to have a bit of a tidy up. And there's certain processes to follow when you're removing work from your website. So I wanted to share them with you now. So we're going to be looking at how to delete stuff, basically. So I'm signed into my website. And one of the areas I'm not going to be covering Liverpool anymore. It's not going to be practical really for me to get there. So that's one of the areas I'm removing. So I do have a Liverpool wedding photographer page on my website, which is accessed via my portfolio. I've got my portfolio divided into some different areas here. I've already started removing a couple of the blog posts. And if I hit refresh, actually, there should be one fewer one on there as well. So I'm going to remove a few more and take you through the kind of correct process for that. So on my website, what you'll notice actually with my site is that I've got 114 published posts. I did previously have 119. I've just deleted a few. And what I would say with that, if you're a wedding photographer, the danger of ending up with too many posts can mean that your content can be spread too thin. And I think that's something that I've seen really hurt the rankings of lots of photographers. And really, when you're looking at kind of blogging weddings and covering wedding venues, there's only so many wedding venues that you're going to cover. There's only so many kind of things that you can write about weddings. And I'm in year 14 of running a wedding photography business. And my kind of what I've found it works quite well from a structural point of view is to have somewhere between 100 and 120 posts. I can cover really like a ton of different venues with that kind of number, but it means that I'm not spreading my content too thin. If anything, I'll probably be aiming to keep it at a nice around 100 posts in future. It just means that everything is really easy to crawl for Google, because often SEO work is not just about on-page optimization or building the off-page SEO. It's about making a site that's really easy to navigate and crawl for the robots. If your site isn't crawlable and there's really poor navigation or poor site architecture, it can have such an impact. So it's really it's one of these things. Sometimes people think SEO can be kind of secretive, and it's really just organizing, having a really good, easy to crawl structure that's easy for a user to navigate as well is so important. So we'll come to site structure again later, but for the moment, I'm going to show you how to delete stuff. So when you're deleting posts as well, it's worth thinking about whether you've got an opportunity to redirect some traffic to something else relevant. But in this situation, really, I don't want to be coming up for searches for Liverpool because I'm not going to be covering that area anymore. It just doesn't make sense. So if we kind of put the user at the centre of what we do, we've got to think, well, if a user was searching for Liverpool and they landed on one of my posts and then got redirected somewhere and found that I was based in Glasgow, that's not going to help them at all. So when you're sometimes not sure about what's the best decision to make, think what would be good for a user, because really the person that's using your website, the potential client, that's where the priority is in terms of giving them a great experience when they're on your site. And that's Google's focus as well. Google wants to give users of their search engine a really great experience. So with that in mind, we're just going to delete the Liverpool stuff, okay? So let's find a post to delete. So this one here is from a few years ago. It's at a church in Liverpool. I'm just going to show you the correct process for that. So we can use this word here to find the content on the back end of my website and just make that a bit easier. So if you go into the blog post search, right, that's the name of the church. Okay, so this is a blog post here. So there's a couple of things to consider first. One of them is the photos in the blog post. We do not want a bunch of photos hanging around on a server taking up room, especially when many hosting companies start charging extra if you need extra space on the server. Some of them have limits of maybe 3 gigabytes, 5 gigabytes. And some hosting companies can actually penalise you if you take up too much room or they think that you're starting to use it as storage. So you want to make sure that you've not got these photos from blog posts that you've deleted still hanging about in your media library. So we're going to click Edit first. We just want to have a peek at how I've labelled the photos so that we can find them easier when we search the media library. So the first thing we're going to peek at is this was published in 2012. So, I mean, this is quite an old post now. So if we have to do a search in the media library for date, then September 2012 is where to look. So if we click on the photo and then click on the little pencil to edit, we can see that I've labelled this with the church name and then just wedding photography. Now, this is not a good example of alt text, okay? So please don't copy this. It would have been far better if I'd have written some way more descriptive alt text in this. And this is a kind of a blog post that I've not particularly optimized very well. So I'm going to be taking this out of here. Now, what we're going to do is literally just click on Move to Bin. Now, when I click Move to Bin, there's going to be a couple of things that happen, and what happens for you will depend on what plugins you've got installed. I would highly recommend using the redirection plugin. You'll have the option of redirecting it or not redirecting it to anywhere. I use the Yoast Premium plugin, so what that means is I have the feature of being able to serve a kind of content deleted label. So if we click Move to Bin, you'll see this prompt that's come up here. So this is Yoast saying, do I want to redirect it to another URL? Or do I want to make it serve a 410 content deleted header? Now, I'm going to make it serve the 410 because this is content that's gone that I'm not going to be, it's just, it's something I've actively deleted. So this is a great opportunity now to talk about 404 errors because you don't have to serve this. You can literally just delete it and it will appear in Search Console. If we head over to Search Console, under Overview, it'll appear in this area as an error. Now, just because it appears in here as an error does not mean it's going to have a negative impact on the rankings of your site. 404 errors are so misunderstood. So A 404 is only a problem if it's something that you want to rank. Okay, so it's only going to have a negative impact on the rankings of the thing that's returning the 404. So if you've actively deleted content, it's not a problem because you actively deleted it. You're not wanting it to show in the index. So we're going to head back over here, click Make It Server 410. Now, by clicking the 410 thing, we're saying to Google, this is deleted. Please take it out of the index. Whereas if we just left it to server 404, like we just deleted it and we didn't add that label to it, then that would show as 404 as content not found. So Google would still keep looking for it for a while and it'd eventually give up and it'd come out the index. So that's absolutely fine. This plugin is not essential, but I've just found it keeps the index tidier and it gets things kind of taken out faster. So I quite like using it. Now, we've deleted the blog post, but we're not done yet. So we need to go and delete the media that related to that post. Now, this is going to be a little bit easier to find because the church has an unusual name. Okay, so these are all the photos. So we want to just go in and click delete permanently so that we do not end up with a bunch of photos taking up space on our server. I'm going to pause the video while I delete the rest of these. Now, as you're going through and tidying up your work and kind of looking for the various different things to prune off the website, you'll maybe find some work that might still be relevant. So just going back to this map again, the area in between where I'm moving to, there's a big area that's popular with weddings called the Lake District. Now, it's somewhere I've not covered for quite a while because really I've kind of, my focus over the last few years has been on city centre weddings, but it's somewhere that I would like to start covering again because I'm going to be covering a wider geographical distance. So if we just head back over to my website, on the media library here, we'll see that there are some photos from a few years ago. It's a wedding from back in 2013. Now, this work in this blog post, although it's kind of a few years older, it's work that I still really like and it covers the area that I'd like to cover. So when you've got a post that's maybe a few years old, I've got like my old logos on this and the blog post isn't very current. This is where you would be looking at the figures within Search Console to look at the performance and see what you could do to kind of optimize this post or maybe make improvements. So if we just go on to finds in the actual blog post, see which one it is, and it was on the lake. It wasn't any of these three. And the couple were called Mel and Tim. See if I can actually find it. So this may be one that I've actually removed from a few years ago, but I've kept the photos. Possibly. So what I'd be looking to do though, because I'd like to reuse these photos, is create new content and illustrate that content with those photos. So let's look at another post instead, just as an example. So this one, for example, the Daffodil Hotel and Spa Wedding. So this is one that I've photographed back in 2016. So it's a bit more recent example of my work as well. So what we want to do is see how that's performing at the moment. It's something I've not particularly pushed, as I said, because I've not really been actively trying to get work in that area. So to find how that's performing, we just go over to Google Search Console, go to Performance, and go to Pages. Okay, now we want to use the filter just put a tick in that box. And we're just going to put the word daffodil because we know that's going to be in the URL. So right away we can see it there. So if we just switch all of these buttons on here, and we want to look at the performance over the last 12 months, it just gives us a better insight into how that post's performing. And we need to do the filter thing again. So change the date before you. Okay. So we can see that it's averaging position 58. The click-through rate's pretty low. It's actually had really quite a lot of impressions, and there's only 10 clicks. But it's on an average of page 58, so that'll be why. So if we want to just look at the performance of this page on its own, just click on it. And just click on queries. And then we can see all of the different things that it's ranking for. So if we organise these in position and see what's the highest. So wedding photo outdoor, not massively relevant, but daffodil hotel weddings, it's actually on top of page 3. It's had a few impressions for that. The impressions it's getting most are for outdoor weddings and daffodil hotel wedding. So this is a post that we can kind of go back and re-update and remarket and kind of get out there again and get a bit of traffic too. But before we do that, we want to make sure that we are compliant with Google current best practice guidelines. Because looking at the date of this post, it's from 2016. So what I would highly recommend you do, if you're kind of maybe looking at old work and you're looking at optimizing a post to maybe from a few years ago that you kind of want to push and maybe market a specific venue a bit better, you want to make sure that post is fully compliant, and you're have done all the best kind of optimization that you can with it, with the current processes. So let's just take a look at those for a moment. Now, what I'm going to share with you next is an article that Google is on Google Support Docs, and it's the steps to a Google-friendly site. And Google just tells you there's some things that you can do to help perform well. So, just by checking those guidelines and making sure that you're doing everything that you should, you can kind of give your site the best chance. So Google says, give visitors the information they're looking for. Provide high quality content on your pages, especially your homepage. This is the single most important thing you can do. If your pages contain useful information, let me zoom in, the content will attract many visitors and entice webmasters to link to your site. In creating helpful, information-rich site, In creating a helpful, information-rich site, write pages that clearly and accurately describe your topic. Think about the words users would type to find your pages and include those words in your site. Okay, so looking back at this page, have I optimized this really for what people would be looking for? So I'd be wanting to check the word count, check the alt text on the page, and really see if I was responding to all the things that people were searching for. So we're going to be looking a bit more at keyword research and things like that in the second video in this series. But this is the sort of thing to start considering when you're looking at your posts. Another article that I'd like to share is Google Image Best Practice. This has really changed in the last few years. Google has got some steps of how to create a great user experience for photos. And there's some things here that are really important. Providing good context, optimizing the placement. So whenever possible, place images near relevant text. So no big paragraphs and then just a row of images. Okay, so don't embed important text inside images, create informative and high quality sites, device friendly. So there's quite a few steps here. So it's worth, when you've kind of not, when you're going back and looking at old work, you want to make sure anything that you are keeping, anything that you're going to continue to keep on your site and continue to market, you want to make sure it's fully compliant. Now, this post is because the text is in between the photos. There's no big paragraphs. There's also alt text in the photos as well. So this is something that I'm going to look at doing some additional keyword research to, and finding out some more things I can do to make it a better quality from a user point of view. So we'll get to that in video 2. But for the moment, we're going to go back to deleting some more posts off this website. Now, before I continue with that, I'm going to show you a little bit of the kind of the structure of my site, and we're going to talk about that for a moment. So let me pause the video. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you now is a crawl map of my site. So in this map, you'll see that there's a load of different coloured dots, and this is showing how the pages all kind of relate to each other. So in the middle, we've got the home page, okay? And then these light green dots, this is a click depth of 1. So the pages that are here are my featured portfolio pages, my featured venues, and all my core pages on my site. So things like the things that are accessible from my homepage, so the blogs that are shown on my homepage, and also like wedding photographer prices. What else have we got? There's the venue silo pages, and also like my contact page and that type of thing. There we go. Now the ones that the click depth deeper than that are these are a click depth of 2. These are the actual blog posts that are linked to from the silo pages. So you can see that really, this is a crawl from November, by the way. There's only a handful of posts that are more than 3 clicks away. Really, everything should be within 3 clicks of the homepage. And this is why, as I said earlier in the video, I want to keep my site really easy to crawl, really easy for a user to navigate, and keep the structure of it clear and easy for a kind of a bot to navigate through, really, so that there's the content as good a quality as possible. And that's what's enabled me to get the posts performing as well as possible. So if I look at my overall figures here for the last 12 months, on my website, I've had 9.87 thousand clicks, 821,000 impressions, average click-through rate of 1.2%, which could be a bit higher actually. I've got a few underperforming bits on there. An average position here. So this is all of my pages. So it's average position for all of the queries I rank for. And I've got a whole ton of page 1 rankings. So what we're going to do is I'm going to continue to remove these pages off of here to get this down to under 100. And then in the next video, we're going to look at the process to optimize existing content, to kind of reorganize that to start getting some rankings using existing content that could be repurposed. And we're also going to be looking at keyword research for new venues as well, and how to blog when you don't have any weddings and you don't have any photos yet. So look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.